Hello and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional podcast. I am, of course, your host, Sandy Lowres, and the Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40, Women Beyond 40. And, we like to think of it as lube for your mind. You can check us out at wb40.com. Before we begin today's podcast, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast is recorded, and that is the Wiradjuri people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respect to their elders past, present, and those emerging. And I would like to pay homage, actually, to their ancient history of storytelling. Today in the podcast, I am very excited to talk to two women. They're a mother and daughter duo, Faye and Lauren. They are extraordinary business owners, entrepreneurs, and fashion designers, and their brand motto has been going since 1985. They both bring so much passion and energy to this brand. Their online presence literally exploded during COVID. I love the dynamic of these two generations of women working together and the energy that they bring into the world and into their business. Please welcome to the Confessional, Faye and Lauren.
Hey there! When Sandy's not interviewing kick-ass women, she's hanging out with me at Alex the Seal, a podcast about music and nostalgia. I'm Jo Pybus, and each episode, Sandy and I talk about all the songs that got us hooked up, knocked up, and broken up. Do yourself a favour and search Alex the Seal on your podcast app. Love you, Molly.
Hello, Lauren and Faye, and welcome to the Good Girl Confessional. How are you today?
Oh,
Good.
Excited about chatting with you, actually, Sandy.
I'm just as excited as you are, I can tell.
Oh, thank you.
And you both look absolutely beautiful, as always.
We both turned up to work today, both in matching sets, like the bottom half of us matches the top half.
Yeah.
We do that all the time, though. It's just like mother-daughter.
We seem to be on
voodoo.
the same wavelength, and we're kind of, similar thinking in the fashion department anyway.
I absolutely love that. One of the things that I absolutely love about your brand, which of course is Motto, is that you are working as a mother and daughter team, but it wasn't always like that. So I guess I wanted to ask you first, Faye, about Motto and its inception, but more importantly, how you got into fashion. What was the driving force for you?
Wow, how I got into fashion. I think it started when I was, something like 5 years old. And the girl next door, I was the little wog girl in the street. The girl next door was blue-eyed, blonde hair, and she got all the fun toys. So she got a Barbie. I don't know, we really owe so much to Barbie. It's a pain. Just remember that, Barbie. And she had beautiful clothes. And I said to Mum, why can't I have one of those? Mum was a dressmaker. She bought one of those awful little dolls with elastic arms. Probably nobody remembers that. I'm that old. Anyway, and they had arms and legs, no clothes. She was nude. So Mum got me this doll that was nude, and I was horrified. I said, where are all the beautiful clothes? And you know what she said to me? The best thing that's ever happened to me? Well, you can make some. So I did. So I made little undies, little elastic legs, like around the, the little undies with the
bloomers.
The bloomers, bloomers.
Bloomers.
Totally. And a little top. I still remember the outfit. It was very, very cute for a 5-year-old, and it went from there. So, but the funny thing is, I'm only a little person. I'm barely 5 foot. So by the time I got to, about 12, my mum was still buying me size 14 clothes because she said I'd grow into them, but I never did. So I was constantly altering clothes. So I guess that was the start of it. And somehow, because I was so different, I thought I was different because I grew up in Adelaide, and everyone it was a really high English community there, so they were very not like me. So I really wanted to fit in because, as you do when you're going through puberty and teenage time, you want to fit in. So I just made it happen with my fashion, so I could get a lot of attention in a different way. Yeah, and that would have been the start. Apart from that, I did get a job offer when I was at school, believe it or not. It used to happen back then. I don't know if it happens now. To work for Witchery, and that's where I started my career, and I stayed there for a long time until then I went to Just James, but it's a short time, and then started my own business as well because it was always my dream. And it was really, I understood way back there what a difference fashion makes. Even, at that young age, I was trying to transform myself every day. I guess that's where it really all started now that I think of it. This is very deep, by the way, Sandy. Thinking about it, that was the pivot point. It
I'm
can really make you whatever you want to be, basically, with fashion.
I'm just thrilled that I actually asked you that question then, because
You definitely got an answer.
Yeah. Did you want it that long? Was that too
Yeah,
much?
I do want it that long. I think so that makes me love your brand even more, if that is possible. But I love actually that, and it's really fascinating you saying that, you know, you're the European kid on the block and everybody else was very obviously white Aussie or British background or whatever, right? But that's something also extraordinarily beautiful that you bring to your sensibility of fashion, right? Is your European background, because it is something that no one else had ever really done before.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I always say being Italian means that we're a little bit more stylish. Sorry, the rest of the world. You know,
sorry, you miss out. Move over.
You miss out. It's all the Italians that have got all the style. No, not really. But, you know, that's, if I believe that, then it's going to happen. And you know, I mean, I have so much stuff around belief systems. And, yeah, maybe that's the truth for me.
Yeah, but I think that's the truth for a lot of people.
Something different.
I think it is. I think that there's a lot of truth in that for a lot of people. I think that, you know, having been to Italy a number of times, and I love it, so I will say that there is a sensibility of fashion there that we just, you know, we're sort of slower on the uptake, I think, in more sort of white culture, if you like, or, you know, this sort of Western white culture. I do think that when you go to places like Italy and you go to places like France and you just see things that are so innovative and so beautiful. You know, like really it takes us a little while. I mean, I guess now with the onset of the internet, we've really caught up quickly, but it took a long time really when you think about like the 60s and the 70s even, and even in the 80s, that sort of fashion took a while to sort of catch up here.
Yeah, it did. Well, you're right. Now with the internet, it's easy. My first trip to Italy, I've got to say, when I met the family for the very first time, because, I mean, you had to go out in a boat back then, so it wasn't an easy trip just sneaking over to Italy. But everyone was just so stylish. Even can I just say the old men, you know, like the old guys just swanned their great whatever they were wearing, even if it was just a T-shirt.
They usually wear suits. Like my non wears a suit pretty much every day.
But he's really cool. I mean, my dad, 96, still wears a leather bomber jacket, pants with his runners, so he's extra cool now.
I love that. But you're actually right, Lauren. Like, you know, when you think about my grandfather used to go out in a suit and his hat, and he always used to get his hats from, you know, Melbourne City Hatters, which are still there in, you know, underneath Flinders Street Station. I think it was a much more sort of stylish era when you go back to things like, you know, I guess the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. Everyone sort of dressed up, but that's sort of what we like to bring at Motto. We want to inject that little bit of dress up, and I think that's what the Italians do really well. They dress up, whereas your typical Australian style of fashion is a little bit more casual. It's a little bit more beachside, but we do, you know, it's such a Melbourne thing to be a little bit overdressed. So we're keeping it going because we absolutely love it ourselves.
That was the best part about moving to Melbourne, actually, the fact that they did get dressed. Even though it was mainly black, they still got dressed up.
We get dressed up.
More than Adelaide, anyway.
I will say you're right. I've always lived most of my life wearing black. I'm such a Melbourne girl, and just love black. But I do think I'm wearing a lot more colour than I used to, and I'm seeing that a lot of people are wearing a lot more colour, and I think that really is quite gorgeous about the Motto brand as well. When you get in there, there's lots of different, not just colour, but different patterns and different styles of things that people weren't seeing before.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what makes us stand out, the fact that we're full of colour and all different patterns, and somehow that's quirky.
Yeah,
it makes fashion so much more interesting. It's almost like a wardrobe when you look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we have fun with that and we love that.
Yeah.
And Lauren, I wanted to ask you, so were you always sort of into fashion because mum was?
Oh, definitely. Oh, my God. Yeah, I was born and bred. I was under the table when I was, 6 months old. Baby. My kids were under the desk when they were 6 months, under the cutting table. I was completely immersed in it, and I did love fashion. Like I was saying, from 5 years old when they used to say, what do you want to be? It was always a fashion designer. And then obviously as I grew up, fashion is one of those things that if it's in you, you have to work in it because you cannot do anything else. So I've definitely got that inkling in me. So as soon as I finished school, I went to university and I went and worked in a fashion agency, and then very, very quickly decided to come on board at Motto and start their e-commerce division of the company. So, and then, fast forward 17 years now, we're designing together and doing it. We're friends. Yeah. We were always friends.
I always do this in a photo. Sorry, I've got to put it in.
Yeah. So yeah, it's completely been part of my world. Wouldn't have it any other way. I love it.
Oh,
and it's great. And you know what? I mean, it's really, sorry, I don't know if this is a question, but it's so special working with you, love.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
That wasn't a moment. That was supposed to be a special moment.
Sorry.
She didn't even get into
I get
that.
awkward.
It was a special moment for me.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, it is fun. It is fun. It's fun working with family when you like them.
Oh, yeah, that's the other side.
It would
lucky
suck the other way. I don't know about
anything
any other way, but it is good. Yeah.
Lucky we like each other. That's all I can say.
Oh, I just love the energy that you two have, though. This is the thing. I was very, very lucky to have a conversation with you ladies a couple of weeks ago. I just love that energy, how you bounce off each other. And you're right. I think it would be really difficult to be working in a situation if you didn't just really like each other. I mean, obviously you love each other, your mum and daughter, but you have to really like each other, right? To kind of, and you have to get each other, I guess.
Yeah, I think you're right. You can love each other and not like each other. That's the other side of it. But I think we actually like each other as well, which is great. Lucky. Otherwise, I'd probably yell at you more than what you would yell at me. More than likely.
There's a little bit of,
which is not a good thing.
There's the odd mother-daughter banter, but it's always out of passion for a product or a colour or how to style something. It's never about anything else.
And sometimes she says to me, "Are you all right?" And I say, "Oh, am I a bit grumpy? Am I? Oh, of course I'm all right."
I love that. I imagine it'd be bloody fun working with you ladies. I can tell you now.
Our staff laugh at us. Yeah.
Oh, so funny. So Faye, let's talk about. So you go off and you're into fashion from a really young age, and I do love that. And can I tell you, my little heart just is exploding with this story about your doll, who was not Barbie but could have been, and you making clothes for her. I think that's just so special and so incredible. And this whole thing that thankfully for your mum, she said go off and do it yourself. Yeah. But I want to really talk about your incredible entrepreneurial spirit, because you started Motto in 1985. Is that right? And
yes.
And you've been going ever since. That's huge and remarkable for any brand in this country or anywhere in the world, really, that you could keep going for so long.
I think it is.
It's special, right?
Well, yeah. What I remember in 1985, we had a dear friend who was also in the rag trade, as this is called, and he said, "Are you crazy? Don't you know there's a recession on?" And I thought, "Oh, is there?" Didn't cross my mind because I was so passionate. Went straight into it, got pregnant, so Lauren was under the table within a couple of months.
Yeah.
What was I thinking? Lucky I had my hubby there too. We started it together, and everyone was saying, look, the first year, that's when you really know whether you're going to be in business. So the first year went, yeah, we made it. Then 5 years came along, three children under the age of 4 by that stage, and someone said to me, hey, you know what? I don't think I've ever seen you not pregnant. I thought that was pretty funny. But at that point, it got really serious. 5 years in business, wow. And it could be touch and go there, but no, we survived and it kept on going. Every 10 years you have to change something in your business. And at the 10-year point, it was make or break. So, and after the first 10 year, you got to get to the second 10 year and then the third 10 year, and we're nearly up to the fourth 10 year. So 4 different eras of Motto and changing our, I wouldn't say direction, because it's always been about women and feeling gorgeous and just, empowering women. That actually has never changed, which is a really good point to know. But everything else has changed. With online, I'm rambling now. You know what I mean? It's it's just got to keep changing. Otherwise, you go backwards. And
you have to keep reinventing.
You have to keep reinventing, yeah. And I guess that's, I always think of the Beatles. This is where I really go off. You have to say Sandy, you have to say Faye, shut up. I always think of the Beatles because they were around for 10 years and, they reinvented themselves with every album. That's what inspires me, the fact that a band like that looks so different every time. And that's always stuck in my mind. That was in the 60s. I I wasn't even a Beatle fan. I had other things.
Hello, Sandy here from the Good Girl Confessional podcast. The Good Girl Confessional podcast is proudly brought to us by WB40, a platform for women 40, 50, 60 and beyond. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see the rest of the video, please head over to WB40.com and subscribe to WB40 Extra. By subscribing to WB40 Extra, you're helping to support the hard-won wisdom of incredible women. So thank you. Please remember to like, share and follow.